ambulances, you don't have a number of you have some people that have been injured, and that's terrible, especially for the life that was lost. There is no way to get around it, escape it, or I can't even imagine what those parents of that loved one are they're going to feel. I don't want to minimize that, but odds are, bad as it is, it could have been a lot worse. And we're going to let them do their job and try to figure out, was this a targeted incident, or was it random? But the fact that there's not a stream of ambulances, EMS units, running bodies, young people, our future, to the hospital, if there's anything that lifts my heart and makes it, there's no way to be joyful, but I can look to with some solace, is that I don't see that on the news.
And that's an important point to note. We appreciate that, sir. Can you describe for us, when they say that there's a police incident command post at the president's residence, what does that mean in real words?
Well, this would be a makeshift. Of course, I've never been to the MSU's their president's house, but a command post can be anywhere. It can be the front of a patrol car. It's anywhere you need it to be, but preferably you want a place where you can get those decision makers in the same room, where all the information will flow to, and those decisions as far as resource allocation, deployment, investigative findings, preliminary findings, all of that information can flow to one spot where those decision makers can make those decisions as to, okay, we need to clear this area next. We just got a report of this might be the shooter, etc. And it depends on that command post. Is it set up to be a command post? Again, I have not been in the president's house. I suspect that this is a makeshift command post. Only thing you really need is a couple of phones. Nowadays, most officers are using, and commanders are using cell phones. They have their radios. Luckily for the state of Michigan, you have that statewide radio system that everyone can be on the same radio system, so interoperability is not an issue. So that's a wonderful thing that allows those commanders in that makeshift command post to coordinate the response and their resources.
Inspector Stafford, the first reports of shots fired, from our understanding, was sometime around 8:40 this evening. We're sitting here at 2 hours later, and we still don't have any information on if a shooter has been found, has been located, has been neutralized. Can you just give us some perspective of why that could be? Is this something that the sheer size of campus is playing a role? What's happening that's led us to this moment?
Brian, you hit it right. You hit the nail on the head. As you know, MSU is huge. It is a huge campus, which has a downtown on its outskirts, separating it from actual Lansing. So it is a porous campus. It's not like a military base where you can actually cordon off with fences or anything. And it is full of nooks and crannies and ways out. Again, if this was some kind of targeted attack, I've sought the vengeance, or I've engaged my target, and I'm going to run to my car and get out of there. It's very well possible that the shooter is long gone. We don't know. And they're going to keep doing their due diligence. They're going to keep looking. They're going to keep searching till they find out, and before they give the all clear. It's better to, in an abundance of caution, it is better to keep things locked down and buttoned up till you can either be sure that the shooter has left the area, or they have been apprehended, or you have a high degree of confidence that they are not there. Doesn't mean they're not, but that degree of confidence suggests that, well, maybe this person has left. So 2 hours for a campus of that size, porous is an understatement. I am not surprised.
All right, Inspector Stafford, really appreciate your time on such a tense situation that's playing out this evening. Thank you for your insight and expertise. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it, and thanks for allowing me to weigh in, and God bless everyone on that campus.
Indeed. Glenda Lewis, my co-anchor, is stepping out right now. Carolyn Clifford is going to join me here in a second.
We have been listening to coverage from our affiliate in Detroit, WXYZ, as this active shooter situation on the campus of Michigan State University in East Lansing continues. There have been reports of multiple injuries. The campus is on lockdown. Students We are still awaiting, there is supposed to be a press conference. You see the podium there, a press conference at 11 o'clock, where we hopefully will get more information about what the status is right now, an update on any injuries and the status of the shooter. An alert again went out around 8:15 this evening of an active shooter on campus at Berkey Hall, which is right there in the heart of East Lansing, right off of Grand River, right across the street from the Broad Museum, if you're familiar with that area. A number of people who have been injured, we're told, have been taken to Sparrow Hospital, one of the largest hospitals in that area, in the East Lansing area. And again, this has continued all night. It's been going on now for about 2 hours or so. The governor has issued a statement saying she's aware of the situation, asking people to keep Michigan State in their prayers tonight as an active shooter situation continues on the campus of Michigan State University in East Lansing. 50,000 students are on that campus, so as you can imagine, many people tonight, parents and friends and relatives, very concerned, very worried, as this story has now gained national attention all across the country of another active shooter situation happening tonight as we wait for a briefing on the very latest of what's happening in East Lansing tonight.
Breaking news now on 13 on your side.
And thank you so much for joining us. If you are just joining us now, there is an active shooter situation on the campus of Michigan State University in East Lansing. It all began around 8:15 tonight inside Berkey Hall. A suspect still believed to be at large, believed to be on foot. All persons on campus and in the neighboring community are being told still to shelter in place and secure in the room that they are in. Multiple injuries are being reported tonight. We've received an update from campus police. We're told shooting victims currently being transported to Sparrow Hospital in Lansing. MSU police have confirmed that a number of the halls in that area, Brody, Mason, Landon, they have all been cleared or secured. Michigan State University police have released a vague description of the suspect, only to say that it is a short male, possibly wearing a mask. At any moment, we are expecting a briefing with new details, and we will take that briefing live as soon as they do this. Governor Whitmer has issued a statement saying that she's been briefed on the shooting at Michigan State University. The Michigan State Police, along with MSU police, local law enforcement, and first responders on the ground. She says, let's wrap our arms around the Spartan community tonight. We will keep everyone updated as we learn more. Michigan State University police putting out the alert saying that all campus activities are canceled for 48 hours, including athletics, classes, and all campus-related activities. They're telling students do not come to campus tomorrow. And all K through 12 schools apparently are also closed in the East Lansing School District tomorrow. We want to now go live to this briefing we've been telling you about, so let's listen in.
Police and Public Safety, Interim Deputy Chief Chris Rozman will be giving an update. Because we want to provide you with the most accurate and updated information, we will not be taking questions at this time, but we will provide another update in an hour. So at midnight, same time, same spot, we will be giving you an additional update. Rozman is spelled R-O-Z-M-A-N.
So we are very saddened to report that there has been an incident on the campus of Michigan State University. There has been shots fired and a shooting in multiple locations near campus. Please understand that the information that we're sharing right now is preliminary. Our priority right now is the safety of our students and our campus. The information that we're sharing may change, but we are going to be as transparent as we can and share as much information as we can. But that information may change as it's preliminary. This incident started this evening around 8:18 p.m. at Berkey Hall on campus. We received multiple 911 calls of a shooting inside Berkey Hall. Numerous officers responded. We were quickly on scene within minutes, and there we did locate several victims of a shooting. The incident did move to a building in close proximity, the Michigan State University Union building, where there was another report of a shooting immediately following the first incident. Police and emergency responders acted quickly. We tended to the victims at both of those scenes, and there was an overwhelming law enforcement response to campus to help with this situation. I can confirm that there were at least 5 victims. All 5 victims were transported to the hospital. Some of those victims do have life-threatening injuries. The suspect in this incident, and we believe there to be one suspect, was last seen leaving the MSU Union on foot out of the north side of that building. We are just receiving surveillance footage of that suspect that we will be releasing shortly. Initial information is that the suspect is a black male, shorter in stature, wearing red shoes, a jean jacket, and a ball cap. And we will follow up with additional descriptors of that suspect. Community members on and off campus should remain sheltered in place. We immediately launched our emergency notification system and advised the entire MSU campus to shelter in place as this suspect is still outstanding. For people on campus, please do not come to campus. I can't say that enough. For parents, we understand. I can only imagine the emotion that's involved right now. It's going to help us, and it's going to help our response, and it's going to help us identify the shooter, the less people that are on campus at this point. Please do not come to campus. We are doing everything we can to ensure the safety of our campus and all of our students. We currently have hundreds of police officers and law enforcement officials, state, local, and federal, on campus working in a coordinated effort to ensure the safety of campus and identify and apprehend the suspect. All campus activities will be canceled for the next 48 hours, including sporting events, classes, and all campus-related activities. Please follow our Twitter page for updates. We are sharing live updates at that location. I can't stress this enough. You're probably hearing a lot of information and misinformation right now from social media, the scanner, calls that we're receiving that are not accurate. We strongly encourage you to follow the accurate information source, and we will continue to provide as many updates and accurate updates as we can. There has been false reports of additional shootings. There has been false reports of the suspect seen in numerous different locations. Those reports are not accurate. Please follow us for accurate information. As I said, we're very early on in this investigation. It remains ongoing, and we are going to continue to meet back here and provide updates on the hour. We wanted to provide as much accurate information as possible right now, and we will continue to do that moving forward. As I said, information is very preliminary at this point, and we are working very hard to gather that information, to accurately get it out to our community, to students, to parents, and to everybody who needs that information. Please know that the safety and security of this campus and our students is our absolute priority at this point. We will meet back here at midnight for an additional update. We will push out some information, including a photograph of the suspect that we just obtained immediately following this briefing. Thank you, and we'll see you back here in an hour.
All right, we have been listening to a press briefing on the campus of Michigan State University. Here is what we know. Around 8:18 this evening, police were called to Berkey Hall on the campus of Michigan State University. 911 calls were there. They discovered several victims of a shooting. From there, they received an additional call nearby at the MSU Union building, where there they discovered another scene with other victims there. A total of 5 victims were then transported to area hospitals. We are told that the 5 victims included those with life-threatening injuries. The suspect then left on foot and is still at large. He is described as a black male wearing red shoes and a baseball cap. Apparently they do have surveillance footage that they plan on releasing within the next hour. A shelter-in-place order is still in place right now. The shooter is still on the loose, and people are being told to shelter in place. Do not come to campus. All activities are canceled for the next 48 hours. Hundreds of officers have responded, state, local, and federal. They stressed that this is still a preliminary investigation. They plan to update everyone again at midnight tonight. But again, an active shooter situation on the campus of Michigan State University in East Lansing is still ongoing. 5 victims at 2 separate locations with life-threatening injuries have been transported to area hospitals. The suspected shooter, described as a black male with red shoes, a baseball cap, remains on the loose, and people are being told, do not come to campus. That is the very latest information we have now. They plan on updating the media at around midnight. He also cautioned people not to believe everything you're seeing or reading on social media, which is often the case in situations like this. Misinformation can spread very, very quickly. So that is the very latest. Another mass shooting in this country, this time on the campus of Michigan State University in East Lansing. Again, 5 known victims with life-threatening injuries, and the shooter is still on the loose. We do have multiple crews on the way to East Lansing and hope to bring you reports from them just as soon as we can. We have been listening to coverage from our affiliate in Detroit, WXYZ, and listening to some of the terrified students as they recount what they've been going through for the last several hours. Many people still sheltering in place in classrooms and buildings in that area.
They're coming to me.
Afraid to leave because that's what they've been told to do, because this shooter is still in that area, they believe, and has not been apprehended. We hope to get that surveillance footage of what this individual looks like. And we do want to go to our own Micah Cho, who is in East Lansing now, to see what he has to say. Micah, what can you tell us?
Kirk, let's just kind of show you what it kind of looks like here near, I think we're near Berkey Hall off of Michigan. I'll have my photographer Colin kind of walk with me so you guys can kind of see the amount of law enforcement presence and police lights and ambulance lights that are out here off of Michigan. There is really, besides local media, there's really not a soul in sight walking the streets of Michigan right now, and we're trying to figure out if there's anybody around that may have seen something or may have heard something. We did see one person off of a balcony who says that they were in their building all night and they didn't really hear anything, and they just came out to the large presence of lights out here off of Michigan. So we're going to stay out here as long as we need to, and we'll send it back to you in the studio now, Kirk.
Micah, just to clarify, where exactly are you located right now? Are you on? Are you right near campus? Are you on Michigan Avenue? What's your location?
Yeah, Kirk. Colin, I'll have you kind of go towards that street sign. We're off of Michigan. I think we're near Berkey. We're next to the People's Church as well, right off of Michigan.
Okay, and other than the police presence, you don't see much activity? You don't see students nearby? Okay, perhaps he can't hear me. We do see a helicopter.
I'm sorry,
there.
Kirk. I'm having trouble hearing you.
Okay, we do see what I can only imagine is a police helicopter in that area. Again, this suspect is still on the loose. As we know,
Kirk,
there is a shelter in place. And now we want to go to our Andrea Flores, who is also there near the scene. Andrea, if you can hear me, what's your location?
Kirk, we're about 3 miles away from where the shootings took place. We're at a university building where the press conference just took place, where the police tell us that this is still a very active scene, and we are away from that scene waiting for more information. We're expecting to hear more in about an hour, but just to kind of recap what we've learned so far, this information is still preliminary and things are still developing. But just to recap, the shooting first started at Berkey Hall around 8:18 this evening. Police responded to multiple 911 calls of a shooting. When they got to that building, they found at least 5 victims, and they were taken to the hospital. It appears that the shooter then went to another building right there in kind of the heart of campus there, and there was another shooting as well. And you just mentioned that they are reviewing surveillance footage to try and get more information about this suspect, and they are expecting to release that on Twitter as soon as they can to let the community know who they are looking for. Again, they are looking for a short male wearing a hoodie and red sneakers and a baseball cap. There are hundreds of law enforcement officials in the area tonight, and we are waiting to hear more from them on more injuries potentially or any other information that they can share with us. So they tell us that safety is their top priority, and they're asking everyone to stay away from the area, to shelter in place if they can, for them to assess the situation fully. Kirk.
Andrea, thank you. We want to go back now to WXYZ. We understand these are students who are being allowed back into their building. This is a live feed from WXYZ in Detroit, and we're told these are students who are finally being allowed back into their building.
We have to make sure that they are in fact students and they do in fact live here before they let them in. But again, we were just told by some law enforcement on scene that came over to this large group of students we've been standing with and let them know that right now they can begin to head back to their dorms but remain to shelter in place indoors. So that's at least what we're hearing on the ground, on this east side of campus. And again, earlier, the Michigan State Police had tweeted out that they had reports at IM East, but again, as you heard in that press conference, they've narrowed it down to the Berkey Hall and the MSU Union. So I think a little bit of relief for the students that were in this area on this side of campus, the east side. But again, many of them now heading back to their dorms.
Yeah, I know police. We can see the police inside that dorm, and I'm sure they are just making, sure that the shooter is not mixed in with any students, and I'm sure they're checking IDs and asking a lot of questions before those students are let back in. Brett, let me ask you one quick question before you leave us. I know you get a chance to speak to some of the students on campus. Is anyone telling you that they believe the shooter is a student, or just some random person who is on campus? Are you hearing that at all? And I know this is breaking information. You may not even know it, but I just want to know, are you hearing any rumblings of that?
Well, the thing is, I'm hearing different things about who the shooter might be. So it's hard to say. I mean, I don't think anybody really knows right now. We didn't really hear that from students. I think most of them were, quite frankly, just wanting to get inside somewhere that they felt more safe. So I did not hear whether they thought it might be a student, if they had any leads on it. I know social media people have been posting about someone they believe is the suspect, but again, we just really don't know right now, and the students don't know. We don't know on the ground. So again, I really don't know the answer to that.
No,
right now.
I understand, Brett, because we know
the concern. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a breaking situation, but if you hear any updates, please get right back to us. We understand. We're all trying to gather information as fast as we can, and you stay safe out there as well, because we know you're trying to bring us reports as you're reporting on this situation live.
Well, some of the new information that we heard at that press conference that happened right at the top of the hour was that there is an image, a surveillance image of the suspect that we are expecting at any moment that law enforcement is going to be putting out, hopefully to help them find whoever did this.
Yes, I mean, because when you think about it, 5 victims transported to the hospital, some with life-threatening injuries, we are hoping and praying that they will be okay. Right now, though, we're going to go to Alex Bozargian. She is also on campus and was just at that press conference. So, Alex, what do you have for us?
Brian, as you mentioned, the huge development here is that they're going to release that picture of the suspect. They're still looking for that person, but the way this all unfolded, it started around 8:18 p.m. According to MSU police, they say they responded to Berkey Hall, and that's where they heard a bunch of 911 calls. They responded to those 911 calls and found victims there. Then they say the situation moved over to the Union building. Now, earlier on the air, we talked about a student that was actually in the Union building at that time. He had heard a loud bang and then 4 more loud bangs, and he threw a table to shield himself, and then when he felt like the situation was safe enough, he crawled out with a friend. Now, again, those 2 locations, Berkey Hall and Union Hall, and the Union building was the last place they saw the suspect leave. And they talked a lot about misinformation here. There's a lot of tweets, there's a lot of speculation, and there's a lot of different things being circulated in terms of where the shooting took place, how many suspects there are. But again, MSU police are saying there's only 1 suspect in this situation. Like you mentioned, 5 people were shot, some of those with life-threatening injuries, and sent to Sparrow Hospital. You could hear the emotion in the MSU police as they were talking. The priority right now is students, and they want those students to continue to shelter in place as they try to track down this guy. And again, they're going to release a photo which will help the public, help them. And as Carolyn, you mentioned earlier, they're asking people not to come to campus. I know it's so hard, especially when you have a loved one here. You just want to run. You want to make sure they're okay. But when there's not a lot of people here, it makes it a lot easier to try to find, whoever this bad guy is. And, that's what the concern is here. They want to track that guy down, and they want to make sure this campus is safe. Again, this community forever altered.
Alex, I know it's such an emotional situation for so many people, and MSU is such a big campus. I went to Michigan State University. It's huge, so of course they are trying to search that entire campus, and that's a big deal. I mean, MSU is like a big city all in one, and they are going dorm to dorm, building to building. It's at night, it's dark, so it's very difficult. We do have a picture of this suspect. We're going to try and describe it to you as the police did. This suspect has on a jean jacket, and he may have changed, keep that in mind, but a jean jacket, red shoes, and a mask.
Here it is right here.
And a hat.
So it looks like dark jeans or dark pants, that jean jacket, that 2-tone colored hat, and those red shoes, and what may be a backpack. I'm seeing those 2 straps there as well, those gray straps on his shoulders.
And they are describing him as an African-American male of shorter stature. I'm assuming they're looking at his hands, and that's how they're trying to figure out that he is African-American. But this picture, of course, is from earlier when he left the Union Hall. He may have ditched that jacket, ditched the hat. We don't know, what he may look like, but they are definitely trying to search that campus to find him. They don't even know if he has left the campus at this point. But right now, they want all students to shelter in place. If you are off campus, shelter in place, asking parents who are worried and concerned about their own children, please don't come to campus. You've seen kids outside and inside, and at this point, police are trying to get kids back into their dorms so they can shelter in place.
And what we're seeing come in here, a little bit more of a relaxed posture from many of the law enforcement officials that we are seeing on campus, which is a very stark contrast from what we saw earlier. I think one of the many experts that we had talked to throughout the evening said the words fog of war, and that seemed to pretty well describe what Brett Cass saw when he first got there, when he said it felt like chaos, and what we were hearing from students as well.
Well, you could actually see the video of police running toward dorms, and then when you see kids with their arms up, as we've seen at other active shooter situations at high schools, those students were told to leave with their hands up so police could make sure that that active shooter wasn't hiding among them. That's a very scary situation, and it does look like war. If you see 5 or 6 police officers with guns drawn running at you, and then and then students running in the other direction, that's a frightening situation. And as I've talked to, and you've talked to students tonight, they are fearful still and just hoping that this man right here, they will find him so there won't be any other shootings on campus or even in the surrounding area.
Surrounding areas as well. And speaking of the surrounding areas, East Lansing Public Schools, they will not have any activity tomorrow, as well as, of course, Michigan State University. As you were looking at that suspect image, I do want to mention that the FBI did put out a request for any tips, 1-800-CALL-FBI, to help law enforcement try to learn more information about who this individual may be.
Yeah, and as Brian just mentioned, even on MSU's campus, they have canceled everything for the next 48 hours. No classes, no sports, no activities whatsoever. And I believe a lot of students are probably praying, especially if they know any of those victims who have been shot on that campus that started off in Berkey Hall. Kids were shot there, and then kids were shot in the Union building, and they were rushed quickly to Sparrow Hospital. And as you heard the police say during that press conference, they converged on that campus quickly. They put out alerts quickly. Those shots fired went out at 8:18, and they were on that campus within minutes.
But we're coming now on 3 hours since that. We do not have a suspect in custody. It is still a very tense situation on this campus right now. And what we do know, at least is a big word there, 5 victims, some with life-threatening injuries.
And what you need to know, on the lead on this, of course, is East Lansing Police. They are trying their best to sort out this investigation, but the FBI, federal, state, local officers all working together to try and bring this suspect into custody and to make sure this campus is on lockdown and safe tonight, so nothing else happens. But I can't even imagine, if you have a student on that campus right now, what parents are feeling, especially being told not to come to the campus, not to come pick up your student. You just need to stay at home right now until they can sort this out.
And as always the case with campuses like Michigan State Universities, so many of these students are from out of state. Their parents are out of state. They're not in a position where they could even try to get to campus to try to find their loved one. And so they are looking at these images just like we are, but with a very, very different lens of looking to see if they can find their loved ones out and safe.
Now the good thing is they're going to continue to give us updates every hour. So they're going to return at midnight and give us another press conference and another update. And hopefully they will give us some good news and say that this person on this photo that you're looking at right now, the suspected shooter, has been brought into custody. We have no idea why he would come on that campus, why he would shoot at people, why he would go to Berkey Hall. We don't know if he's a student. We don't know if this is a random person. We don't know if this was a love triangle. We have no idea why this person would come. MSU is a safe community. East Lansing is a safe community. And I spoke to a student earlier who said she went through a shooting at Central Michigan University and was traumatized again being on MSU's campus and then going through this again. So kids, these are young students, young college students, and are really fearful tonight.
And as we take a look at this suspected shooter here, take a good look at your screen. As we take a look at them, it's another important reminder that that person is not in custody yet. So a shelter in place remains on Michigan State University's campus. We do have a parent on the phone right now. Joining us, Ronald. Ronald, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
First and foremost, can you just give us the status of your child that's on campus? How are they? Are they okay? Are they safe?
He's okay. I just got a call saying that call JR, and I said okay. I called him. He didn't answer, so I had to call to Florida and ask my son, "Have you talked to your brother?" And he said, "Have you talked to him in a half an hour?" I said, "No." He told me that he's locked up in the restaurant and there's a shooter. And I'm just like, oh man, are you serious? So he called me to let me know he's all right, but he was just telling me that it was just messed up, man. Just messed up. But it's just sad, and I'm always telling my boys, be aware, and America. It's sad. I feel so bad.
Ronald, it is certainly sad, but I'm glad to know that your son at least is okay. Can you give us an indication? Is he in East Lansing at a restaurant close by on campus, like on Grand River?
And we have been listening to WXYZ TV's coverage of this shooting on the campus of Michigan State University, and we've now seen for the first time that surveillance image of the suspected shooter with those red shoes, the hoodie, the mask, and that denim jacket that we saw there. It is still an active shooter situation. That shooter is still on the loose on the campus of Michigan State in East Lansing. Earlier tonight, Governor Whitmer issuing a statement saying, quote, "I have been briefed on the shooting at Michigan State University. The Michigan State Police, along with MSU police, local law enforcement, and first responders are on the ground. Let's wrap our arms around the Spartan community tonight. We will keep everyone updated as we learn more." And students we heard from tell us that they were in class when reports of an active shooter started.
We were all sitting in the dining hall, and we weren't allowed to leave, and then all of a sudden I heard go and didn't think twice. It was just kind of just book it and get out as fast as you can.
It was a natural instinct to just run.
And then we just heard go again, and we ended up at the parking lot, and now we're here.
Again, at least 5 victims in this shooting. Some of those transported to area hospitals with what we are told are life-threatening injuries. We have several crews on the ground in East Lansing. Let's go to our Andrea, who's now on the campus of East Lansing. Andrea, what can you tell us?
Kirk, we're here at the James B. Henry Center for Executive Development, about 3 miles away from where the shooting happened. Now, earlier this evening, about 30 minutes ago, we heard from Michigan State Police to tell us about what happened. Now, just to recap kind of what happened at 8:18 this evening. They received 911 calls of a shooting at Berkey Hall, and when police arrived to that scene, they located several victims. It appears that the suspected shooter then went to a close-by building, the MSU Union, and there was a shooting there as well. At least 5 victims were transported to the hospital, and some have life-threatening injuries. Now, we did just receive surveillance footage of the suspected shooter, a short male wearing a denim jacket, red sneakers, and for law enforcement here, they're really emphasizing that there is a lot of speculation online right now, whether that be on Twitter or through scanner traffic, and they want to emphasize that this is still an active situation. The suspected shooter is still at large, and they are still trying to keep everyone safe. We did hear from Michigan State University Police a little bit earlier, and here's what they had to say.
There were at least 5 victims. All 5 victims were transported to the hospital. Some of those victims do have life-threatening injuries. The suspect in this incident, and we believe there to be one suspect, was last seen leaving the MSU Union on foot out of the north side of that building. We are just receiving surveillance footage of that suspect. Initial information is that the suspect is a black male, shorter in stature, wearing red shoes, a jean jacket, and a ball cap.
Now we're going to hear again from the police in about a half an hour, and we are hearing from them that there are false reports of shootings, and they want to continue to emphasize to listen to their press conferences so that we can hear from them what is actually happening here on campus. We will be back with you in about a half hour for that press conference.
Okay, Andrea, thank you so much. Again, this all began at Berkey Hall. This is right in the heart of East Lansing. If you are familiar at all with that area, it's right downtown. It is sandwiched between like Abbott and Farm Lane, and it is right near, Douglas J. Salon is down there. The Tin Can is still down there in that area. Cottage Inn is there. Chipotle is right there. The Broad Museum. This is right in the heart of East Lansing. It began at Berkey and then went to the MSU Union. We want to get to our Micah Cho, who is down in that area, to see what he has to say. Micah Cho, what's happening where you're at?
Kirk, you just mentioned Farm Lane. That's where we are, Farm Lane and East Circle Drive near, I'm going to take this out real quick. I'm hearing myself, but we're off of Farm Lane and East Circle Drive, kind of by Berkey Hall. Colin, I'll have you kind of show the scene a little bit. We have police officers outside of buildings with long guns, and we still have that heavy police presence that you guys kind of saw us have over by Michigan and Grand River Avenue. Again, pretty quiet out here, obviously because of the lockdowns, and it's the same thing that we're seeing over here as Grand River Avenue in Michigan. And like I said, we'll be here, and we're gonna try to see if we can find anybody to talk to us and share us what they heard for now. In East Lansing, Micah Cho, 13 on your side.
Okay, Micah, thank you so much. Again, this is an active situation. People are being told to shelter in place still some 3 hours after it all began, around 8:18 p.m. this evening. It began at Berkey Hall, where they found some victims. Sadly, other victims were found at the MSU Union building next door. Total of at least, they said at least 5 victims, of those suffering life-threatening injuries. Then this suspect left on foot. He is still on the loose. All campus activities have been canceled for the next 48 hours. Here is the surveillance image. Take a good look at this. He is described as a short male, wearing this mask. Now, we don't know at this point. He may have ditched this jacket and the hoodie and this entire outfit for all we know. But do not come to campus for the next 48 hours. Public schools canceled, K through 12 tomorrow, also in East Lansing. This remains a fluid situation because he has not been apprehended. At least 5 victims taken to area hospitals, primarily, if you're familiar, Sparrow Hospital, the largest hospital in that area. 5 victims, as we said. It began at Berkey, then went to the MSU Union building. Hundreds of responding officers on a state, local, and federal level. We are expecting another update right around midnight when they briefed us at 11. Again, they told us this was a preliminary briefing at 11 o'clock. Again, this all began around 8:15 tonight, another mass shooting. 50,000 students attend classes on the campus of Michigan State. Again, we've got several crews there. We heard from our sports director, Jamal Spencer, who was there, and he himself had ended up having to shelter in place when this all began earlier tonight. Berkey, located right in the heart of East Lansing, right near the Broad Museum, if you've been there before, sandwiched between Abbott and Farm Lane. This is a very congested, very popular area of East Lansing with several things down there. The Tin Can, there's a Noodles and Company, the Douglas J. There's a Starbucks there. There's a Chipotle there. The Peanut Barrel, I think, is still there, although it's been quite a while since I was in East Lansing, but Peanut Barrel is still down there. There's a Cottage Inn. There's a Five Guys burger joint down there. Okay, sadly, I am just now. Can you repeat that, Matt? I want to make sure I got that correctly. Okay. Sadly, we have now confirmed that there are 3 fatalities in this mass shooting on the campus of Michigan State University, and 5 severely injured. 3 fatalities and 5 severely injured in this very sad tragedy at Michigan State University. We have now confirmed there are 3 dead and 5 injuries. Let's dip in again to WXYZ TV's coverage.
Updates, correct?
Yes, I plan to not go to sleep until we figure out what's going on, because this is definitely terrifying.
Definitely terrifying. How long did it take you to get over the Central shooting?
That's a great question. I would say it probably took me about a year.
Wow.
To stop thinking about it. I think what helped was, I guess, knowing that all the students were safe, and it was an isolated incident. So,
wow.
That, but
I got
definitely that feeling of fear in the moment.
And right this minute, you're feeling?
Right this minute, I don't know what I'm feeling.
Probably anxious.
Yeah, definitely anxious. Just wanting to know all the information that I can.
I understand. Well, Eric, I appreciate you talking to me. If you hear anything, please call me back, and I hope and pray they get this shooter quickly.
Yes, me too.
And just stay safe in the meantime. So many students still fearful tonight.
And we have an unfortunate update to tell everybody now. Michigan State Police saying there are 3 confirmed fatalities. That is in addition to the 5 victims who have been transported to the hospital.
That is just tragic news, and we don't know if those parents have been alerted. We don't know if those are all students. We haven't identified those victims, but just to think that 3 people have been killed on Michigan State's campus, and if that is a student of yours, our thoughts and prayers are going out to all of the students, all of the parents, all of the loved ones who are suffering and hearing that news. And we have seen those images with sheets over bodies, like you heard that one parent, Ronald, talk about. So many kids are seeing images like that, and now it's being confirmed that 3 of them have died. We don't know if that's at Sparrow Hospital.
And we've seen, unfortunately, we've experienced the rippling effects, even on a smaller scale with Oxford High School, of just how big the impact of any single fatality, much less anybody wounded, is on not just family, but friends, teachers, the entire MSU community in this case.
Well, you just heard that Erica Humphreys say that even at Centro, when no one was killed, she said it took her a year to get over that post-traumatic stress. And that's what kids are going to feel here. When you're running and you see police with guns drawn and shots have been fired, and now you're knowing that 5 are victims and some with life-threatening injuries, and then 3 have died. It's just devastating.
Yes, it is. And as you take a look at the screen right here, this is who police believe is responsible for that. This is the suspect. You see the jean jacket, you see the 2-tone hat, the red shoes, the dark-colored pants, an African-American male, short in stature.
Yeah, and we're hoping and praying that if you are seeing these images and you know who this man may be, you call police right away so they can identify him and so they can find him quickly. We're going to go to a phoner right now. We do have Harold Love. He is a Michigan State Police lieutenant who is retired. Mr. Love, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We so appreciate you. Can you give us your thoughts on this shooting at Michigan State University tonight?
Good evening, Carolyn, and thank you all for having me. Retired Captain Harold Love. Of course, I just heard the news of the 3 fatalities, and my heart just sunk as I had been listening since you all began airing the story. But my thoughts immediately go to, the kids, especially who are out there now, the emergency responders. You see the jovial behavior of the kids and things like that. You see You've heard them laughing on the phone and things like that. And right now, adrenaline is flowing for them, 100 miles an hour, and that's going to come to an end. That adrenaline rush, the laughter, the fun, the hopping around, and then when things.
We've been listening to WXYZ's coverage of this tragic shooting on the campus of Michigan State University, where we now have confirmed that 3 people have died and 5 have been hurt in this shooting. We want to go to our Micah Cho, who is live near Berkey Hall in East Lansing, to see what he can tell us. Micah.
Yes, good evening, Kirk. We're kind of by where you guys just saw us about 10 minutes ago, near Farm Lane and Circle Drive. I just want to kind of show you guys the amount of ambulances that are out here standing by in case medical attention is needed. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from different departments. It looks like Delhi Township, Meridian Fire Department, and yeah, we can also, Colin, I don't know if you can show that helicopter in the sky kind of circling campus right now. We've been hearing that same helicopter circle us for probably about an hour since we've been here. We've also been talking to students here at Michigan State University. Here's what they had to say.
You got to take care of yourself first. You got to get out of there. And then so I get out of there and I text my friends. I make sure, this is my roommate. So you got to make sure that he's okay. My other roommate's back there. So it's more of just, you had to take care of yourself first. And once you got out of there and you got where the police led you to, then then it was a procedure of texting friends and family and stuff like that.
And hearing from other friends, like, are they in similar situations where they're kind of running around on campus, where they're trying to, like, what are they telling you? What are they doing?
I know some other of my friends. They're in their dorm rooms. They're safe in their dorm rooms as well. Some other ones. Do we know anybody that's running around like us?
Everyone I've heard has been just sitting in place because we were all sitting in the dining hall and we weren't allowed to leave, and then all of a sudden I heard go and didn't think twice. It was just kind of just book it and get out as fast as you can.
It was a natural instinct to just run.
And then we just heard go again, and we ended up at the parking lot, and now we're here.
And we're going to continue to be here on Michigan State's campus for as long as needed. As we said before, for now, reporting in East Lansing, Micah Cho, 13 on your side.
Okay, Micah, thank you so much. We now want to go to Andrea Flores, who is at the command center as we await another press briefing that is supposed to happen in just about 15 minutes. Andrea.
Yeah, what we know so far is That's right, Kirk. We're waiting for the next press briefing. Now, we just learned that there were 3 fatalities, unfortunately, in this shooting. Police say that's in addition to the 5 victims who are injured at the hospital. Just to recap what happened, at about 8:18 this evening, police responded to Berkey Hall to reports of a shooting. They later found victims as well at the MSU Union, where it seems a suspected shooter went to as well. That shooter is still at large, and we do have his photo. He appears to be a short black male wearing a denim jacket and red sneakers and a cap. Of course, he could have, ditched any of those items, but we do not know yet the identity of the suspected shooter as well as any of his potential locations. We are expecting to hear more from police again in about 15 minutes. We will bring more information for you all as soon as we learn it. Kirk?
Andrea Flores, thank you so much. Again, let's recap what we know right now. This all began about 8:15 tonight at Berkey Hall in East Lansing. 911 calls coming in about a shooting taking place. When officers arrived, they found victims there and then found additional victims right next door at the MSU Union building, where they found, as I said, additional victims. The suspect then left, fled on foot. We've seen his image displayed. He is a black male, short in stature, wearing red shoes, a hoodie, a baseball cap, and a mask. At least that's what he was wearing at the time when he left the scene. A shelter in place still remains some 3 hours later because he has not been found. People are being asked to remain shelter in place. He is still on the loose. For the next 48 hours at least, people are being told do not come to campus. East Lansing Public Schools, K through 12, canceled. Tragically, 3 people have lost their lives. 5 people have been seriously hurt in this shooting. They've been transported to Sparrow Hospital, the major hospital in that area, if you are familiar with that area. Hundreds of first responders on a state, local, and federal level responded within moments, we're told, of the first calls to this shooting. The governor releasing a statement earlier saying, quote, "I've been briefed on the shooting at Michigan State University. The Michigan State Police, along with MSU Police, local law enforcement, and first responders are on the ground. Let's wrap our arms around the Spartan community tonight. We will keep everyone updated as we learn more." Again, 50,000 students attend MSU. This story now gaining national attention. So as you can only imagine, parents and friends and relatives, not only locally, but also all across the country now, very worried about their friends and their relatives who attend MSU. We also heard from the police chief in just the last hour. Let's listen in to what he had to say.
There were at least 5 victims. All 5 victims were transported to the hospital. Some of those victims do have life-threatening injuries. The suspect in this incident, and we believe there to be one suspect, was last seen leaving the MSU Union on foot out of the north side of that building. We are just receiving surveillance footage of that suspect. Initial information is that the suspect is a black male, shorter in stature, wearing red shoes, a jean jacket, and a ball cap.
He also cautioned about misinformation on social media, that there were rumors about multiple locations, etc. At this point, unless they correct this information at midnight, only 2 locations, Berkey Hall and MSU Union Building. Again, as is often the case, when the information is fluid like this, misinformation can travel just as quickly. So as of now, there were just 2 locations, but we can confirm that 3 people have died as a result of this shooting and 5 others have been injured in this shooting. Some of those are life-threatening injuries. We are expecting another update in just about 9 minutes from now from that same location. But as of right now, the shooter is still on the loose somewhere in that area, we believe. We've seen helicopters circling the area near Berkey Hall and the Union. Let's listen again now to footage from a live stream from WXYZ.
We do have reporters all over East Lansing gathering the latest information for us. Faraz Javed is in East Lansing. He is outside the hospital. I'm hoping we can go to Faraz right now and get an update from the hospital. Faraz, have you been able to learn anything? We know you just got on the scene, but let me know if you know anything.
Carolyn, I just got here. We just got here right now, and we're outside Sparrow Hospital's emergency entrance. And as you said, we've learned that sadly 3 have died at the MSU shooting, and 5 are injured so far, and they've been brought to this hospital over here. On our way to the hospital, we saw a convoy of ambulances and police officers heading on the direction of 96th West direction. I don't know if the producers can pull up that video. We did shoot that. And if you see, we saw lots of ambulances from Livonia, Dearborn, headed to this direction. And as we were approaching the hospital, we also saw a convoy of hospitals leaving, a convoy of ambulances, excuse me, leaving the hospital. So this is what we have to report right now. Obviously, this is still a very fluid situation right now, and as we learn more, we will be bringing more updates. Carolyn, for now, it's back to you.
Faraz, thank you for clarifying that the 3 confirmed dead in the MSU shooting, and then the 5 who have been injured are still in the hospital, some with life-threatening injuries. So we are praying that they are going to be okay. And there have been images circulating among students, and I'm sure some parents have seen them as well, with bodies covered in sheets, and they are frightening images. We don't know if those are the 3 who were killed in this, but Faraz was just talking about this footage here.
Yeah, this is a convoy of ambulances driving towards, I believe, towards campus here along 96, and that is quite the sight and gives you just a glimpse of the severity of what's unfolded tonight.
Oh, I mean, yeah, just to see that, and I talked to a number of students who saw some of these ambulances and saw some of the police cars blazing past their dorms and past their apartment buildings, and that's quite frightening. I mean, and we saw Faraz driving. He got this image as he was going to East Lansing, so you just never know what's unfolding. I mean, it's bad enough that we're learning that 3 people, we don't know if they're all students, but 3 confirmed dead tonight, and then 5 others fighting for their lives right now. You've got parents watching some of these images, I'm sure frightened. Students are sheltering in place. We talked to one parent tonight who said his son is sheltering in place at a restaurant, and they are on the ground until police can give them the all clear. So this is a scary situation for sure. You do see the suspect there on your screen, again, described as an African-American male with that jean jacket, that hat, and those red shoes and those dark jeans. But again, that suspect has likely changed those clothes by now.
You would imagine that would be the case, that they are trying to get out of the area as much as possible, given the perimeter that's been set up outside around campus here. There's a close-up of that suspect where it looks like something is pulled up to their nose.
A mask of some sort.
And hopefully, if anybody has information on who this person could be, the FBI does have a tip line open. That's 1-800-CALL-FBI. We are just a handful of moments from the next press conference, about 6 minutes away, where we hope to learn more. But what we do know is sadly 3 lives have been lost on Michigan State University's campus as a result of a shooting on campus.
And when you think about the image of this suspected shooter right here, these are very distinctive clothing. I mean, that's a distinctive hat, that's a distinctive jean jacket, red shoes. So anybody, if you know who he is, please contact East Lansing Police right away. East Lansing Police, they are working with the FBI, federal law enforcement. You heard Brett say Rochester Police are on hand. So it's all hands on deck to find this suspect so this situation can come to a close tonight. And,
all right, we've been listening and watching WXYZ TV's coverage of this shooting. We want to go now to our own Micah Cho, who is live in East Lansing near Berkey Hall. Micah.
You said we're near Berkey Hall. We're actually right in front of Berkey Hall. I'll have Colin kind of show what we're seeing right now. Just about, I would say, 3 minutes before this live hit, we saw about 5 officers who were dressed in what looked like military camouflage walk past Berkey Hall. We also saw a couple ambulances from our last live shot of those 5 or 6 that we showed. They broke off and they actually went back down that way away from Berkey Hall. But yeah, for now, like we said, we're out here in front of kind of where it all started. And for now, we'll send it back to you in the studio, Kirk.
Okay, Micah, thank you so much. We are awaiting another press briefing that is supposed to happen in just about 3 minutes from now. Hopefully they'll provide us with another update. But as we've been reporting, sadly, 3 people have died as a result of this shooting. 5 others remain in the hospital with life-threatening injuries as a result of this shooting on the campus of Michigan State University in East Lansing. It all began around 8:15 tonight inside Berkey Hall, where there were some victims there, and then right next door at the MSU Union Building. The shooter remains at large. A shelter-in-place order, now still some 3+ hours later, still in place. You see this feed now from WXYZ in Detroit. A multitude of first responders still on the scene, as hundreds of first responders, hundreds of officers on a state, local, and federal level continue to search for this suspect who is responsible for this shooting. We now want to go to our own Andrea Flores, who is at the command center now as we await this next press briefing. Andrea.
Kirk, we have just learned that it's going to be another 20 minutes until the next press conference. So this comes just as we've learned that there have been 3 deaths in this shooting. That is on top of the 5 injuries that were reported earlier in this shooting. Now, we don't know exactly who has been injured, and we are hoping to hear more information in the next press conference, which again has been pushed back to about 20 minutes or so. Now, just to recap what happened at Michigan State University, it all began at Berkey Hall around 8:18 when police got reports of shots fired. When they arrived to the scene, that is where they found multiple victims in the shooting. They found multiple victims as well in a nearby building, the MSU Union. There are hundreds of law enforcement officials on campus, state, local, and federal, all trying to search for the suspect. The suspected shooter is described as a short black male wearing a denim jean jacket, red shoes, and a cap. Now, it's unclear if he still was wearing those items. It's unclear exactly where else he may have been this evening, as they are still looking for the suspect. There is still a shelter in place as well for this university, and the police are urging that everyone stay in place. And we are just seeing that Lake Lansing Road is potentially where the suspect. We are working to confirm some more information about these suspects, so for now we will send it back to you, Kirk, and again we will have about 20 minutes until the following press conference.
Okay, Andrea, thank you so much. As Andrea just mentioned, this press briefing that we were expecting now has for some reason been pushed back about 15 or 20 minutes. So let's recap what we know so far. There was a shooting on the campus of Michigan State in East Lansing. It began about 8:15 at Berkey Hall. 911 calls coming in. It only took officers just a few minutes to arrive, where they found some victims. And then a separate scene at the MSU Union where they found additional victims. The suspect left on foot and remains at large. A shelter in place remains in the area. Sadly, 3 people have lost their lives and 5 people are hospitalized, some with life-threatening injuries. A surveillance image was released just about an hour ago of the suspect wearing red shoes, a jean jacket, a hoodie, and what appears to be a mask, described as an African-American male who remains at large. All campus activity for the next 48 hours has been canceled. Public schools in the East Lansing Public School District, K through 12, have been canceled for tomorrow. This active shooter, they believe, may still be on campus. So there, as I said, there is an active shooter shelter in place happening right now. All activities canceled, including athletics, campus-related activities. Students should not report to campus tomorrow at all. This is in place for at least the next 48 hours. Earlier, WXYZ spoke to a student about what has been happening all evening. Here's what he had to say.
You got to take care of yourself first. You got to get out of there. And then so I get out of there and I text my friends. I make sure it's my roommate. So you got to make sure that he's okay. My other roommate's back there. So it's more of just you had to take care of yourself first. And once you got out of there and you got where the police led you to, then it was a procedure of texting friends and family and stuff like that.
And hearing from other friends, are they in similar situations where they're kind of running around on campus, where they're trying to what are they telling you? What are they doing?
I know some other of my friends. They're in their dorm rooms. They're safe in their dorm rooms as well. Some other ones. Do we know anybody that's running around like us?
Everyone I've heard has been just sitting in place because we were all sitting in the dining hall and we weren't allowed to leave, and then all of a sudden I heard go and didn't think twice. It was just kind of just book it and get out as fast as I can.
It was a natural instinct to just run.
And then we just heard go again, and we ended up at the parking lot, and now we're here.
All right, that was a student's reaction to what's been happening on the campus of Michigan State University. Again, we were expecting a press briefing at midnight. That has been pushed back about 15 or 20 minutes. So we are waiting to see why that is and what new information they may have for us. We are also expecting to do a Zoom call with a school security expert who has a daughter who attends MSU. So we are waiting to establish communication with, oh, I believe that may be him there. Jason, is this you, Jason Russell?
Yes, it is. Hi.
Jason, thank you so much for joining us. You are actually joining us from Texas, but do I understand it correctly that you have a daughter who attends MSU?
Yeah, I'm actually in Texas to talk about trying to prepare for active violent situations. And yeah, my daughter's a senior at MSU, and she's safe tonight, which is really good.
And so you actually are a secure consultant, and so you kind of do this you prepare schools for this kind of situation?
Yeah, so we work with schools all around the country, including schools right there in the Lansing area, on how to prepare for these types of situations. And unfortunately, this has become all too common, and that's really why we exist, to hopefully give people a little bit of information and training that they can use to keep themselves safe.
And so to kind of talk us through what students or people on campus have been going through the last several hours once this shelter-in-place order went through.
Once you get the information, obviously you want to try to keep yourself safe and monitor the situation as best you can. It sounds to me, as I've been watching, and I think when you get the briefing here shortly, it sounds like they may have found the suspect based on my sources over there within the last few minutes. But you keep yourself safe and continue to monitor the situation. We were hearing lots of different calls coming in of shots fired and different things. The police were doing a really good job of systematically searching the area, trying to make sure they got everybody safe and kept everybody safe on campus. And then that process will go on until they can, clear the entire campus.
And how long does that usually take? This has been going on now for a number of hours because the suspect is still presumably at large. How long do you anticipate this shelter in place to last?
I think that that update that you're going to get pretty soon will be that the suspect isn't at large anymore, just based on some information that I'm getting from sources over there. But still, the clearing and making sure that everybody is safe and that all areas have been searched will probably go on through the night and into the morning. They have multiple jurisdictions there. You're talking about a massive campus, so it's going to take a long time to get that area cleared.
Right. And again, pardon me if you mention this because I'm having a little bit of difficult time hearing you. Is your daughter safe?
Yeah, she's safe. I was able to reach out to her right away and found out that she was safe. She lives right across the street in some apartments, and she's safe.
All right, Jason Russell, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and I'm so thankful that your family is safe tonight.
Thank you.
All right, do I understand that the briefing has begun? Oh, pardon me. Okay, we're expecting this to start any moment now. Again, it was originally scheduled to start at midnight. For some reason, at the last moment, they postponed it to start in about maybe 10 minutes from now. But to recap, 3 people have lost their lives tonight. 5 people have been severely hurt with what has been described are life-threatening injuries after a shooting on the campus of Michigan State University. It all started about 8:18 or so is when the first 911 calls came in at Berkey Hall. A second scene right next door at the MSU Union Building where other victims were found. It didn't take very long for MSU police and other responding units to arrive there, but the suspect left, described as an African-American male, short in stature, wearing red shoes, a baseball cap, denim jacket, and a hoodie. A shelter in place still remains because presumably he is still in the area. All activities on campus canceled for the next 48 hours, including public schools in the East Lansing Public School District, K through 12. Governor Whitmer issued a statement earlier asking people to keep their thoughts and prayers. We want to listen in now to WXYZ and their coverage of the events unfolding in East Lansing.
Spectrum of emotions, and I heard that young student say, I didn't believe it was really happening.
Well, and you know what? Because there's so much misinformation from social media. Kids know that there's so much misinformation. And even MSU police, they were saying, please follow accurate information sources like at MSU police, because there have been so many false reports. So you can imagine a kid would probably say, what are you talking about? I don't believe you, especially when you think about how safe it normally is on MSU's campus. So I mean, then she learned, and you could almost see like the mascara down on her face. I'm sure she'd been crying, you know, I mean, over the emotional night that they've had there on campus. And then Brett was talking about all of those parents right there in that parking lot, I'm sure just waiting to hear from their kids or waiting to get their hands on their kids so they can just hug them and say, I love you and you're safe, thank God.
For the ones that can in person, and
Absolutely.
then you think of all the phone calls that are happening throughout the night of parents talking with their students and students finding their friends, and how about the professors and the staff of this university that find themselves in the middle of the situation as well?
Absolutely, and we have not identified the 3 people who have been confirmed dead. We don't know if that's a staff member. We don't know if that's a professor. We don't know if all of them are students on campus, but I mean, it's a wait and see at this point, but I know a lot of thoughts and prayers are going out to their families, their loved ones, and for those 5 people who are in the hospital right now fighting for their lives, because we do know some of those injuries are life-threatening, and we're hoping and praying that police will find this suspect. It's very difficult searching that large area of Michigan State University, and look, they're searching in the night. It's dark. You see them right there with flashlights, you know, looking over that, I don't know if it's a fencing.
Looking into windows, looking over that, that rail there.
That rail.
Yep. Looking through the blinds. You see some windows that are open.
Because, right, because you just never know where someone's hiding. You don't know if that suspect has run from the campus and is somewhere else and may shoot somebody else off campus. So it is definitely, I mean,
and that is
the
fueling,
race is on.
That is fueling some of the fear that everybody in that area must be feeling at this moment of not knowing where this person is, this alleged suspect that we are seeing on our screen right now with those dark color pants, the red shoes, that jean jacket, that two-tone hat, a mask on.
Yeah. Right now, though, let's go to 7 Action News reporter Faraz Javed. He is live in the area of Lake Lansing and Larch, where there's a large police presence right now. Fill us in, Faraz. What are you seeing?
Carolyn, we just got here, and as we approach this area, which is East Lansing, Lake Lansing and East, and we see a heavy police presence. We also see a chopper in the air. We do not know yet why a perimeter has been set up yet, but we obviously are going to be learning more about it. And just to put things into perspective, this is just only 4 minutes away from the hospital. While we were stationed out there, we did see a lot of police cars flying by, and 2 or 3 minutes later, we got informed that a perimeter has been set up over here, and that's when we got here. And as we approach the scene, obviously we see heavy police presence. Even if you can see all the way down there, there are police officers on that side of the road, and there's another angle that you can't see right now, the police presence over there. It's definitely barricaded. We will be trying to get those answers for you, trying to find out what exactly is happening here and why have the police barricaded this road over here. For now, Caroline, it's back to you.
Thank you so much, Faraz. And a lot of times police won't tell us everything that's going on because they don't want to alert a suspect, because if they're on the hunt and they believe he's in that area, they don't want to alert him if he's hiding in that area. They may have seen something or heard something, or we have no idea why they have cordoned off that area right there, described by Faraz at Larch and Lake Lansing Road, but we do see a large police presence there, so I don't know, maybe they're seeing something, maybe they've got a tip about something, but we're going to have to wait and see.
And when you pair that with the press conference that was expected at midnight, we are at 12:12. We know that press conference was delayed at least 20 minutes. We'll see if that remains the case, but it makes you wonder, how is this connected? What's happening? Of course, I'm sure we will be learning new information on what this is exactly in the coming minutes, hours here. But what we do know is 3 confirmed dead in an MSU shooting in East Lansing, and there are additional victims hospitalized right now.
And you were looking at footage shot, I'm sure, by students. You were looking in I believe this is a dorm, or it couldn't be the Union. I think it's a dorm, but you see students taking footage, and there you still see police presence there, but students are sitting around sheltering in place. That is Campbell Hall right there. That is the footage from Campbell Hall. You see students on their phones. You do see officers there at Campbell Hall, though, but I'm sure students are anxious. You see all of them with their heads down, probably talking to their parents or talking to other students, and happy that they are safe tonight. But I mean, wow, it has been a difficult night for all of them.
And then we have this image here from West Acres dorm. More of what we've grown accustomed to seeing in situations like this: students running, students with their hands up, students being escorted by law enforcement.
Yeah, and you see the officers running toward those students. But, you know, as we've learned from some of these high school shootings, you know, you see students coming out with their hands up, and they do that. Police officers do that as a precaution because that shooter might be hiding right in that dorm with those students. So they make everyone put their hands up and march out because they want to make sure that shooter is not in that line. So they take every precaution to keep students safe, and they have done that tonight. They responded quickly, were on the scene within minutes. They have been sending out alerts. They have been doing press conferences. We're waiting on another press conference. They were supposed to have it at midnight. It's now 12:15. That's because all of these police officers are in another area at Lake Lansing and Larch Road, as we just saw Faraz Javed report to us.
Yeah, and we are still working our sources to get information on this developing story. We do know that still, even though we are now coming up on nearly 4 hours since the first shots were reported, that this is all still very early information. We have some of the basics right now, but we are waiting on this press conference, as you mentioned, Carolyn, to learn more information. We are still seeing this heavy police presence, both in East Lansing and where Faraz just was. We're still seeing the moments of parents being reunited with students, despite there's still a shelter in place, and there's still a heavy request for parents not to come to campus right now.
And you have to know, East Lansing Police, Rochester Police, FBI agents, the ATF, they are all working together to bring this to a close and to find this suspect and to make sure that this campus and the surrounding areas are safe. Right now, we continue to show you video that we have from earlier.
We have been watching WXYZ's coverage of this mass shooting on the campus of Michigan State University in East Lansing, where we are now awaiting what was supposed to be a media briefing at midnight. And then here you see they're starting to set up. And then at the last moment, about 10 minutes to midnight, they postponed it. We don't know why. We're hoping that they will explain to us. It's supposed to take place in just about 3 minutes from now, where hopefully they will be providing an update. But as of right now, the suspected shooter is still on the loose. There is still a shelter in place on the campus of Michigan State University, where 3 people have lost their lives in this shooting. 5 people transported to area hospitals, primarily Sparrow Hospital in Lansing, with life-threatening injuries. The shooting taking place at Berkey Hall and the MSU Union Building around 8:15 this evening. All campus activities canceled for the next 48 hours. East Lansing Public Schools canceled, K through 12. for tomorrow. Students are being told, do not report to campus tomorrow. And also, it's worth noting, worried parents, worried relatives or friends from outside of the East Lansing area, do not go to campus. Do not go there to check in on your relatives. It is still a shelter-in-place situation, and until otherwise, they do not want you there. It's not safe to do so while this shelter-in-place situation exists. Again, this all began shortly after 8 o'clock. Hundreds of officers on the state, local, and federal level converging on the scene. They released the surveillance photo taken from a surveillance videotape of the suspect with a very distinctive jacket, I might add. A jacket, red shoes, what appears to be a mask, and a hoodie, asking anyone if they think they recognize this outfit to call 800-CALL-FBI, 1-800-CALL-FBI. If you happen to recognize kind of a distinctive denim jacket, there it is here, baseball cap, what appears to be a mask, and those red shoes, an African-American male, short in stature. This is the shooter that they're looking for, that they still have not found. And again, we are waiting any moment now for them to brief us once again. The last update came at 11 o'clock. It was supposed to happen again at midnight, and they postponed it. They postponed it. We were told about 20 minutes or so, which is right about now. And as we can see, there's still no one is at that lectern or that podium to give us an update. So that's where we're at right now, and we just kind of continue to wait and see what they will tell us. This all taking place tonight in a very popular, congested part of East Lansing, right in the heart of the city. If you are familiar at all with that area, Berkey Hall, MSU Union, kind of sandwiched between Abbott and Farm Lane, a number of very popular spots right along Grand River. The Tin Can is there, Douglas J. There's a Starbucks, there's a Chipotle, and the Broad Museum right there. Cottage Inn, Five Guys Burger Joint is right there. Very densely populated area. And students reacting tonight on what they saw and what they heard. Let's take a listen.
I got a call from my mom saying that there was a shooting. At first I was fine, I didn't think anything of it. And then about 30 minutes into it, I was literally freaking out. I had to call my dad the whole time and wait till he got there. And I was terrified to leave my dorm. I was sprinting out with police surrounding it.
And so I guess yourself too. So you were both on the phone with your parents, I take the whole time?
Yeah, I first heard about it. My roommate was downtown on one of the buses, and she had just been coming back from her exam. And she told me that there had been a shooting at the Union, and I didn't believe her.
And so I've asked you too. So they called you, and you just got here right away. What happened?
Yeah, we live out in Brighton, and we jumped in the car and came out here right away. And we just told them we're going to get you as soon as it's safe to do so. And fortunately, we were listening to the scanner online, and could tell that there wasn't anything going on in their dorms or around their dorms. So we were able to go get them and get them in the car and get them safe.
Kind of a universal theme we've been hearing from students all night, just of shock and terror and fear on the campus of Michigan State. Number of people sheltering in place, afraid to leave, not knowing really what's going on. And that continues now, almost 4 hours later after this situation began. Again, this is a raw feed we're receiving from WXYZ, so it is a fluid situation. You may see a reporter kind of duck in and out of the shot as this situation unfolds there. But the saddest news tonight is that 3 people have lost their lives. 5 people remain hospitalized, some with life-threatening injuries after this shooting. And as of right now, until we're told otherwise, the suspect remains at large. A shelter-in-place order still in effect. Again, we were waiting on some type of update that was supposed to happen at midnight, and then shortly before midnight, we were informed that it was going to be postponed. We want to go now to our Micah Cho, who is right outside of Berkey Hall, for the latest from him. Micah.
Actually, Kirk, we're no longer near Berkey Hall. We're off of Larch Road and Lake Lansing, over kind of by Quality Dairy, about 15 minutes away from Berkey Hall. And let me kind of step out of the way. You can see Michigan State police officers are leaving the scene of a large law enforcement presence. It's still not confirmed at this time why there is this large presence, but we were told to come to Lake Lansing and Larch Road, and that is where we are now. And we're going to stay here for quite a little bit and try to confirm what's going on here, again, off of Larch and Lake Lansing. For now, reporting live in Lansing, Micah Cho, 13 on your side.
Okay, Micah, thank you. Yes, please keep us informed on any information you find out about what may be happening at that location at Larch and Lake Lansing Road. And we can clearly see that there is a heavy police presence there, and we see that it has been roped off with police tape there. Again, not really knowing exactly what's happening. Perhaps when this latest media briefing does take place, maybe they will mention what's happening in that location. Here's kind of a map of that location. It's northwest of MSU at Larch and Lake Lansing Road, and that's where our Micah Cho is, and perhaps they'll give us some insight as to why there's a heavy police presence there and why they have kind of cordoned off that area, and what its relation or its connection is to this shooting on the campus of MSU. So hopefully they will give us some insight and an explanation as to what the connection, if any, is to the shooting that happened around 8:15 this evening. Okay, there is some activity at the command center, so we are going to listen in to this update.
We're going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, or good evening, excuse me. I'm Marlon Lynch, Vice President for Public Safety, Chief of Police here at Michigan State University. Tragic series of events that have occurred here this evening, but we've had a tremendous amount of support from our community, to include our law enforcement partners who are here with me at the moment as well. Standing at the far right, we have Ingham County Prosecutor John Dwayne. Next to him, we have Sheriff Scott Wigglesworth, Special Agent in charge of FBI, Jim Taraska, and you've already met Deputy Chief Chris Rozman. Wanted to thank you for coming to share us as we update our community in regards to tonight's events. We will get directly to the most recent update with that, and then we'll have comment and questions.
Thank you, Chief. Again, Chris Rozman, Deputy Chief with Michigan State University Police and Public Safety. So we start tonight by sharing an important update, and that update is the suspect in this incident was located outside of the MSU campus, and it does appear that that suspect has died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. It is confirmed that he is deceased. This truly has been a nightmare that we are living tonight, but we have remained laser focused on the safety of our campus, our students, and the surrounding community. We are relieved to no longer have an active threat on campus, while we realize that there is so much healing that will need to take place after this. Again, to reiterate the update, there is no longer a threat to campus. We believe there to only be one shooter in this incident, and there is no longer a need to shelter in place on campus. There is no longer a threat on campus. We are sad to report that there have been 3 confirmed fatalities. This is in addition to the 5 victims who were injured and transported to the hospital. Some of those 5 victims still have life-threatening injuries. Out of respect for the families, and while we continue our active investigation, we cannot confirm any personal information about any of the victims at this time. Again, we want to reiterate to everybody that we know there is a lot of information that's being shared on social media and being said on the scanner. Please continue to get your information from us. We are committed to sharing timely and transparent information. Our hearts are with those who have been affected by this senseless act of violence. Giving an update like this is never easy. As a father, I can only imagine how parents are feeling right now. This will be the beginning of a long healing process for everyone who has been affected. That is the initial information that we're able to share at this point. I'll conclude by saying again that this is still a fluid situation. There are several different crime scenes that we are processing with our state and federal partners, and there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Special Agent in Charge James Taraska from the FBI.
Good evening. I'm Jim Taraska, Special Agent in Charge of the FBI in Michigan. Our hearts go out to the victims, their families, and the entire community. I'd like to thank Chief Lynch for your leadership tonight and your partnership. This evening, FBI agents and our response teams joined our law enforcement partners to assist in investigating this horrific incident. We will continue to investigate till we are sure no further threat is posed to the public, which at this point, we're pretty clear it's not. Additionally, we will provide victim services to all students impacted by this incident. We're asking the public, in addition to the other numbers provided to call in for information, we have the 1-800-CALL-FBI number. Please feel free to use that. Call in any tips. This is an ongoing investigation. We'll continue investigating throughout the night and likely days. So with that, Chief, thank you.
In addition to the FBI tip line, we have countless investigators from not only the MSU, Police and Public Safety, but our local, county, state, and federal partners assisting us with this investigation, and there still is a lot to do. I'm going to provide another 800 number and email address for anybody that may have any information that will help our investigators as we put the pieces together for this incident. That phone number, and we'll also share it on our social media, is 844-99-MSUPD. Again, 844-99-MSUPD. And our tip line is tips, T-I-P-S, at police.msu.edu. Our investigators will continue to work tonight and around the clock to process the crime scenes and start to put the pieces together to try to understand what happened here tonight. At this time, we will open it up for a couple questions. I just want to say, please understand that we are sharing information as quick as we can. There's a lot that we don't know at this point. This is still dynamic, it's still fluid, and we will do our best to answer your questions. I'll start right here in the front.
Is the suspect a faculty member, a student? What can you tell us about?
So we are unsure of any affiliation that the suspect had to the university. Our investigators and officers are still working to determine his identity. Once his identity is determined, we will then look to what connection he may have had to our community here. But at this time, that's still part of our investigation.
Just to follow up along the same lines, are the victims in this instance students?
So we continue to work to identify the victims in this case out of respect for their families. As we work through the process, we are not going to identify or confirm if any of the victims at this point are MSU students. That is something that we are quickly working to determine, and that will be a priority for us. In the back.
Can you describe if they're men or women for the victims?
I actually don't have that information. All we can confirm at this point is 3 fatalities at the scene on campus and 5 victims that were transported. That is all the information that we have. However, we will work to determine the specific identity of those victims and their affiliation to campus, if any. Over here.
Were the shootings limited to the Union University? And also, there were reports that the suspect was found with a backpack with magazines and another
So the first question was the location of the shootings. We can confirm that the first shooting occurred at Berkey Hall, and the second subsequent shooting occurred at the MSU Union, which is adjacent to Berkey Hall. Victims were located at both of those locations. There were no other scenes or a shooting did not take place at any other location. There were erroneous reports that there were additional shooting scenes, and that is not true. The question about what the suspect had in his possession when he was contacted, I cannot confirm that right now. We did release some pictures of the suspect. I cannot confirm if he was possessing a bag at that time. Go over here. We do not at this point. We do not have that information. That will be part of this investigation in terms of what type of weapon was used. We do not have that information at this time. Our investigators are working. That's part of the investigation that we're putting the pieces together right now. Go over here. We have absolutely no information right now on what the motive is, and I can't even begin to imagine what that motive would be. That will obviously be part of our investigation. I know that that is going to be a question that lingers on everybody's mind. We will do our best to determine that, but at this time we have no idea. Right.
Law enforcement officers assisted you in this entire?
The initial response to the initial shooting was overwhelming. Every one of our law enforcement partners in Ingham County responded to the scene, and additional counties in this area showed up along with our federal partners. I'm comfortable saying in the hundreds. We had hundreds of law enforcement officers from university, local, county, state, and federal from the mid-Michigan area that descended on campus today in a coordinated effort to resolve this incident and secure our campus. In the back, who sits?
Do you know where that missing president is? Is it on the information, right?
I don't have that information right now. My understanding is that she is returning to campus and has been briefed on this incident, and I can only imagine what she's feeling at this point. Our focus up to this point has really been on the safety of our campus and the public safety operations at hand. And we have briefed not only our president, but our executive leadership team every step of the way. In addition to that, we activated our emergency operations center and put our plans in place that we have planned for an incident similar to this. We initiated those plans, and part of the reason that it was as smooth on our end as it was in this tragic situation was because of the pre-planning, the emergency plans, and the training that we do countywide for responding to active violence incident. In the back, great.
Can you confirm how many fatalities or injuries there were at each shooting location, and how many people were at those locations when the shooting started?
Sure. The question was how many victims were at each shooting scene. I unfortunately do not have that information. Out of an abundance of transparency, I can share that 2 of the fatalities were at Berkey Hall and 1 was at the MSU Union. The other 5 victims, I don't have the specific locations where they were. We also don't have specific information on how many students or people were in those buildings when the shooting occurred. I do know that there were students in those buildings. I don't have a specific number. I want to commend the students and our community on how they reacted when we sent out our emergency messaging, instructing people to shelter in place, to run, hide, fight. Our community listened, and that's why a lot of folks in those buildings were able to escape, is because of following our instructions. I'm going to go over here in the back. So I actually don't have that information right now. The update that we provided about the contact that we had with the suspect off campus was very fluid and dynamic and occurred right before coming in here today. So unfortunately, I don't have that information on what led us to his location. He was contacted by law enforcement. He was contacted by law enforcement off campus. I cannot confirm that location right now. That scene is also being treated as a crime scene and is being investigated as we speak. We may have additional information to share relating to that in the future. Tell you what, over here, go ahead.
The 5 victims, are all of them still in critical condition? Are some in stable condition? What's the range of the condition?
So we do not have a current update on the 5 victims that are at the hospital. I am aware that they experienced life-threatening injuries. We hope to have an update from the hospital, and I think at future briefings, we will have a representative from the hospital here that may be able to share additional information as well. Sir?
Yeah, thank you. The shooting victims in Berkey, you look at all the number of cases that were classified.
So I don't have that information right now. That will be part of our investigation in terms of where the victims were located within the building. We don't have that information available to us right now. Right here. So at this point, we are declaring that campus will be closed for 48 hours. That is the current status right now. That is subject to change as we evaluate our response to this incident, keeping the victims and the students of our community who have been impacted by this tragedy at the forefront. If we need to extend that we will, and the appropriate conversations are occurring to make those determinations right now. Sir?
Can you confirm that the suspect in the photos is the same person
I can confirm that the photograph that we pushed out immediately as part of our transparent information sharing is the same suspect that was found deceased, yes. Sir?
Just wanted to, have parents come to the campus now to pick up their students and then students leave?
Yeah, so we have lifted the shelter in place. That communication was sent out during this conference. Students are free to leave and go about their business. If they would like to be picked up, they may do that. We encourage any student that experienced any part of this incident that may be a witness to contact us. We have already been in touch with several of them, but if there are any students that witnessed any of the tragedy that occurred tonight, we would refer them to our tip line and email. We would like to have an investigator speak with them to understand what their experience was during this tragic incident. In the back. We do not have any information on whether anybody confronted the shooter at either one of those buildings, one way or the other. Part of the investigation, we will look at the sequence of events and what occurred at each building, and that's why we encourage any students or witnesses to come forward to help us piece the sequence of events together. Go ahead.
Were any campus threats reported in the last few days or on social media? And how did police find the suspect in the shooting prior to police interaction?
So we have not received any threats to campus in the last several days or before this incident. We have not received any threats to our knowledge. Obviously, our state and federal partners are constantly monitoring different sources to provide information to us, and to my knowledge right now, we were not aware of a threat before this. What was the second part of your question?
How did you all stop the suspect in the shooting site before he contacted you guys?
So I don't have the particular details on the encounter that happened when law enforcement confronted the suspect off campus. That will be part of our investigation as well, but I don't have the specific details of how that incident transpired. The first report that we received was at 8:18 p.m. 8:18 p.m. We responded in force. We had officers on scene, not only from MSU Police and Public Safety, but East Lansing Police Department, the Michigan State Police, the Ingham County Sheriff's Office, Meridian Township Police Department, initially responded to that scene within minutes. We had officers in the building following their active shooter protocol and going towards the threat. While officers were in Berkey Hall, the suspect moved over to the Union, and when the incident took place there, officers quickly redeployed to the Union, and that's when the suspect left out the north door of the Union, which was the point that he was last seen.
We'll take one more question, and then we'll provide an additional update at 1:30 a.m.
So we'll take one more question, and we are going to do another update at 1:30, which is less than an hour from now. Go ahead.
I know the scene with the shooter is still ongoing, just found out about it, but do you know, was he in an off-campus apartment, in a car? What is the location in which he found the suspect?
So we're not going to share any information right now about that specific location where that occurred. I can assure you that it was off campus. It wasn't directly near campus at all. It was in an off-campus location. Because that scene is still active as well, we're not going to disclose that particular location right now. So again, we really do appreciate everybody. Go ahead. I'm going to turn it back over to the Vice President, Chief.
I just wanted to end it with this particular comment. We can't describe and appreciate the response that we have from our partners in our community. The number of police officers, emergency medical service, fire departments that showed up literally within minutes to support this effort, it's completely overwhelming with that. If you were on campus at the time, you saw it with that. They're still there, still clearing buildings. It's a very methodical process. We had the numbers to do it, and it's only because of the relationships that we have here locally and the ability to train and partner constantly, and the communication is always there. It's a situation that when one department receives the call, everybody does with that. We're extremely grateful for our relationships. It would not have been as thorough and as expedient and as efficient that it has been to this point without those partnerships. I just wanted to take a moment to thank our partners with that, as well as our community for being responsive to the messaging that was sent to them this evening. Thank you, and we'll see you at 1:30.
And we have been listening to an update from campus police where they have told us now there is no longer an active threat on campus. The shelter-in-place order has been lifted because the suspect in this latest mass shooting at Michigan State University in East Lansing has died as a result of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Our coverage will continue at 4:30 with 13 on Your Side mornings. Until then, we now resume regular programming. Good night.